Mhm. Okay, good afternoon and welcome to Clayton County Library Systems Virtual Graphic Novel Club. My name is Erica.
And I'm Roland.
And today we will be talking about, technically, this was one of DC's properties at one point in time. The Boys, though. We will be talking about The Boys. Some of you are familiar with The Boys based on Amazon Prime's TV show, The Boys. This is a direct representation of that show. We have a little disclaimer here before we jump into today's topic.
Yes.
Viewer discretion advised. Viewer and listener discretion advised. This presentation is not for the weak of heart, nor is it for children. The Boys is graphic. Graphic, not only graphic violence, graphic and sexual nature, and the superheroes have very graphic flaws. They're just graphic.
I'm gonna say if you're under the age of 18, turn your computer off now.
We are not going to go into, but I just want you to know before you go pick this up at your local library or from Comics Plus that it is a graphic novel. So we say that to begin with and put this in the presentation because we're going to jump right into it. The origins of The Boys comes from DC actually owned this property. It was through Windstorm, which was one of their publishing houses that they had picked up. In 2006, it was canceled after only 6 issues, despite strong sales with DC. It was actually supposed to be a part of the DC universe, which meant DC properties could be included into it, like Superman, Batman, all sorts of, like, that was what Garth Ennis, who was the creator, writer, and artist, Derek Robertson wanted to do. They wanted to include characters from within the DC universe into this. But it was canceled after 6 issues at DC. They ended up selling Windstorm. They didn't even sell it. They just got rid of the department altogether. After weeks after their cancellations, funny thing I read about Garth, when it got canceled, he took his family to Disney World. Oh. Like he had gotten his first big check from DC and they were really excited. And he planned this big trip with his family to Disneyland, not World, but Disneyland. Then he got a phone call like a day before the trip that they had been dropped. But he still went to Disneyland and enjoyed it as if he wasn't broke because there was going to be no more checks coming in after that. But anyway, we digress, and it was canceled, but then Dynamite Entertainment picked it up and re-released the first 6 issues that were published under DC. Ennis and Robertson had worked, they had collabed on The Punisher Max for Marvel at one point in time. They had made the name for themselves in the industry also. If anybody is familiar with the AMC show Preacher, they are the creators of Preacher. And another one called Transmetropolitan, which I don't think we have. Yeah, I hadn't heard of that one, but they were famous already for those 2 titles. And so The Boys is their third kind of, going back into graphic novels and comic books. They were supposed to, within the DC universe, it was supposed to be where they had a group of superheroes that were unchecked, basically kind of like what we covered when we did Watchmen. This was a very, very gross interpretation of Watchmen, where you have superheroes, whereas Watchmen, these were people who were naturally gifted with these, and some of them in accidents that they had from the 50s and the 60s. This is 2006, so these superheroes were going to be created using a chemical called Compound B. They were unchecked. Compound B was produced by the government. Was it VA? What's that stand for again?
What was
VA?
that?
Voight, yes.
Voight America.
Voight America, which was literally, it's a government-run facility
But
that was,
it's a spinoff of old Nazi.
yes. What the SS, the scientists of Nazi Germany were doing, experimenting on Americans. So Voight America, which is a part of the government, was injecting human fetuses with compound V. So while they were in their mother's stomach, they're getting injected with compound V, lots of compound V. But in this world, these superheroes, so you have someone called Homelander, who you could think of as like Superman, and then you have a guy called Aatron, who's like Flash. These heroes have no one to check them in society. There is no repercussions to what they do. They pretty much run wild, and the government lets them. They are corrupt. They only care about their celebrity status, and they engage in reckless behavior. They compromise the safety of the world. The boys, though, are their only nemesis in the story. No one else is there to check them. So the boys is comprised of a character called Billy Butcher, Mother's Milk, the Frenchman, the female, and the newest addition to their group, which you will be introduced to in issue number 1, is Huey Campbell. And they monitor the superhero community, and it leads to gruesome, and when we say gruesome, confrontations and dreadful results. There are other characters that we're going to get into later, but the boys go up against the 7, basically, and the 7 are those who have been injected with compound V. But the 7 are the best of the best. And in order to get to the 7, you have to make it through many other groups. Today, we're only going to be covering pretty much the boys and the 7, and we're going to mention some of those other groups that they have. But just want to let you know, this comic ran for 72 issues between 2006 and 2012. We have volume 1 and volume 2 of those collections, and there were some kind of like epilogues to this story that they produced after it, but in the comic itself only ran for 72 issues. And the volume 1 and volume 2 we have, that's all 72 of those issues. There were some other issues that were put out later that kind of gave you kind of companion pieces to the story or backstory to some of these characters, but today we're only going to cover those 72 issues. So let's jump right into it, Roland.
All right, so good. Introducing the boys. Our first member of the boys is actually, he's the current leader, but it started out that he was the second in command. Who basically took over after they lost the team founder, Greg Mallory. He's physically large and incredibly violent. Is more than happy to blackmail, brutalize, torture, and murder if it will achieve his goals. He can also be very sociable and charismatic to the same ends. While Butcher grew up on the Lower East End of London, he lived with an abusive father. This leads to developing an overwhelming hatred for the old Butcher and almost leading him to murder him. Butcher's younger brother, Lenny, talked him down, but only because of the impact it would have on their mother. Butcher went on to serve in the Royal Marines and was wounded in the Falklands War. Following his deployment, Butcher became self-destructive, drinking excessively and assaulting friends and strangers for little reason. He was even court-martialed at one point. This changed the day he met his future wife, Becky Saunders. Following that, there was no record of any assaults. Mallory believes Becky's presence had a calming effect on Butcher. Conversely, the cause of Butcher's campaign against superheroes stems from the rage he felt after the assault and death of his wife at the hands of a suit. Billy is manipulative and has nothing to lose in his war with the Supes. He only cares about his dog, Terror. He secretly created a modified version of Compound V so that if he was the only one to survive, he could take out as many Supes as possible. He does not survive the series and is killed by his second in command, Huey, who we'll talk about later. His creator, Enos, describes this character as Butcher's desire for revenge is what drives and consumes him 100%. Robertson describes bringing to life the Butcher's visual look, a dark, cruel smile of malicious intent. He should look knowing as he can see right into us and know our fear. Now, like the rest of the boys, Butcher was injected with the special chemical called Compound V that increases strength, reflexes, stamina, and durability, and gives the ability to heal wounds faster than normal humans. Butcher now possesses that super strength, the likes of which enable him to crush a Glock handgun in his hands with ease and rip the very thumbs off another superpowered human named Shadow. And makes hurting and maiming superheroes that much easier.
Yes, and just to say, there will be some spoilers ahead, so but that does not discourage you from reading it, because like I said, it's only 72 issues. There is no continuation. There are some prequels and some off stories that kind of fill in the gaps where and because there's so many characters in this book, there's so many teams, there's so many things that I think the artists and the creators wanted to discover and the interest of fans. But that's Billy, good old Butcher. And Greg Mallory, we're going to mention him a lot, but he's not really in the story a lot. He was the founder of the team, and he and Butcher worked together early on as just a duo. But Mallory, you'll find out later why Mallory is no longer on the team. He's still alive, but he's no longer on the team. All right. So we have Wee Huey. Wee Huey, I will talk about him and Mother's Milk, but Wee Huey was recruited by Butcher. Okay, when you're introduced, Wee is in the first issue of The Boys. Your introduction to Wee Huey Campbell is when his girlfriend Robin is accidentally killed by Aatron during a fight in which Aatron was subduing another suit while traveling faster than the speed of light. Just think of that. Speed of sound, I'm sorry, not light, but speed of sound. He threw the other suit high speed into Robin, and both of them impacted in a nearby brick wall. So he literally threw a superhuman being into a human being, crushing her into a wall. Huey is left in the panel holding her arms. That's all that's left of her. It's just her arms. Like that's, and we're not laughing because it's just the sheer force of which he hit her, and all that was left of her body later was her arms, because she literally exploded when she hit that wall. Because of this, he's thrown into a depression, and Butcher, when he hears his story, seeks Huey out. He thinks that Huey will be a great addition to his team of getting the boys back together. So after Robin is killed, Butcher recruits him and takes Mallory's vacated spot on the boys. Butcher injects Huey with Compound V to fight the teenage kicks. We'll talk about them later, but he does not tell Huey he's injecting him when he does this. So he does this without Huey's knowledge, and it causes Huey does not even know his own strength, and he ends up killing another suit in the process of that. Huey has a relationship throughout the story. There's a subplot. There's a relationship with a character named Starlight, who's from the Secret Seven. And he does not know throughout this time that she is a soup. So that it's just an interesting subplot. He has a great character arc because in the beginning, he's kind of this seen as being manipulated by Butcher a lot throughout the entire story. Because Butcher is sadistic and needs Huey. And he experiences a lot of great personal tragedy throughout his story, but he has a great character arc because it shifts, and he is brought into reality after following Butcher and some of the other characters on The Boys, and they play well off of each other because Butcher is sadistic, whereas Huey still has a little bit of his humanity left. Like, even though he lost his girlfriend, he experiences not only that personal tragedy, but just tragedies from his youth. He still has a heart for people. Like, he's not so jaded that he's just out here killing unmercilessly. And even though Butcher is a seasoned and experienced collected veteran, Huey is a regular man behind everything. So they play well off of each other, and it's needed because in the end, Huey is the one who ends up killing Butcher.
Now, Huey has, did you see the amounts? He has a more expensive.
Yes, he has the $19 billion.
Yeah, $19 billion worth of this drug flowing through his system.
Yes.
I believe that would probably make him the strongest of the boys,
Yes.
if not for his, his timidness, basically, that he has to grow out of. So.
Yeah, that's why when I said he accidentally kills another suit. He did not mean. Blarney Clark is the one he kills, who's a member of the Teenage Six.
Yeah, he grabs him by the throat, and Huey he is scared Huey, so Huey was just like, "Get off me!" And he punched him in the stomach, and his hand went straight through
his stomach.
Yeah.
And so because he doesn't know his own strength, and he has $19 billion with a B of compound V in his system. Again, he is the one who ends up killing he avenges a lot of the boys' characters, because in the end, it all goes straight to, yeah. I'll let you do Marvin.
Okay, so our next character, the Marvin T. Milk, aka Mother's Milk. Mother's Milk was born to a poor family in Harlem and is the only one of the boys to be born with compound V in his blood. His mother was employed as a worker at a factory owned by Vote American, which had previously been used as a laboratory experimenting on compound V. Most of the women who worked there subsequently died or suffered from severe medical conditions. It was Mother's Milk's brother who was born mentally disabled and later died due to complications related to the compound V. His father ended up spending years trying to fight Vote American in the courts, and despite winning one case, he ultimately died while working on a follow-up case. It was at this time that Mother's Milk eventually joined the army, and while there, he accidentally killed one of his fellow soldiers in a boxing match when the compound V in his blood activated. So he was basically waiting in military prison when he was approached by Butcher and Mallory to join the boys. It was there that he accepted their offer and started to serve. Well, he started to serve as Butcher's second in command after Mallory left. Yeah. So they use his calm logic and basically as the anchor for the team. And Butcher also references him as the glue holding the team together. It has been revealed in the comics that Mother's Milk's name is related to the fact that due to the compound V in his body, he had to continue nursing from his mother to an advanced age and possibly continues nursing to this day. Yeah. I don't know how that's going to happen since she died. I mean,
she died. Yeah, she died, but I think that milk. Because there are times where he gets sick. Right.
But I think he has milk that's infused with compound V.
Yeah. So he nursed for a while though, beyond the 5 years old.
Right. And then it says here that when he was a child, his mother tried to wean him off of the teeth, but he got progressively sicker and sicker each time, until finally his heart stopped the last time that she tried, so she gave up trying to wean him off.
Yeah.
He possesses superhuman strength and durability brought about from compound V. He also has military experience and training and has served as an Army Ranger. And like I said before, unlike the rest of the members of the boys, he's the only one that was born with compound V already in his biological system, which you'll find that some of the other suits were made this way as well, not just by the injection.
Yep. Yes, we will find out later when we get into the Secret Seven. All right, we got the Frenchman, Sergei. He is one of the two powerhouses of the team. So when you think of the muscle, the Frenchman and the female are your muscle.
The two smallest people.
Yep, the two smallest people out there. The Frenchman, he and his closest friend, which is the female, are they the two heavy hitters of the boys. He is very proud of his French heritage, and he discusses everything that deals with France in depth, to the point where he gets super annoyed and will beat a man almost to death over insulting his country or mocking his country. He has his trademark goggles there on top of his head. And he pulls them over his eyes ritualistically before pursuing any aggressive action. So before he gets into a fight, he pulls his goggles on because he knows it's about to get messy.
And you'll see that with comedic effect in
the TV
like
show.
In the
comic. Oh yeah. He is frequently brutal, but he's actually at heart a really kind and loyal friend. He spends much time trying to help his friend, the female, deal with her mental problems. We'll get into her later. And he is actually pretty calm and shy in nature until provoked. So you have to provoke him to get him going. But once you do, his anger can be hard to rein in. So he's literally beating people to death. He has it gives way to ruthless aggression and brutality against enemies or anybody who mocks him or insults him. He cares, but he cares deeply. He also is very close to Butcher, despite many things, because Butcher is not a nice guy either. But despite many things, they're close, not as close as he and the female. But his strength is unmatched. And ferocity is unmatched, and he's loyal to Butcher to the end, which is very interesting because Butcher is not loyal to the end. Butcher betrays his team to get what he wants, basically, and it results into a lot of death. Frenchman sees himself related to Huey. He has like a soft spot for the kid. And because he was a young man who went to war and he left behind his sweetheart to patiently wait his return. But when he went to war, the Frenchman changed. He would return he would return a pacifist. Like he came back home a pacifist. And his parents and his darling Marie, which he thought was going to wait on him, but actually she was now attached to his bitter enemy, Black Pierre. The Frenchman became distraught, and at the betrayal, he sunk into depression. His father tried to get him out of that depression by egging him on to stand up and fight for his only love. And so because he wouldn't stand up and fight for her, the father did, and Black Pierre killed his father in a duel. And the Frenchman, when his father is wounded and then later dies, he renounces his pacifism and he becomes a wanderer. He gets into barroom brawls and and he catches the intention. This is how he butchered me, because after his father is killed, he kind of just loses it. So that's that anger can't be reined in type of thing. Because he's considered the muscle, those are his powers, abilities. He also has military training and a heightened sense of smell, which comes in handy a lot for them on some of their missions, because he could smell gunpowder, things like that, like sulfurish and things like musty soups. He could smell them, and that helps them out. He also has compound B in his system, and not as much as Huey, but enough. All the boys have compound B in their system, basically, due to Butcher.
Okay. So our next character is Kamiko Miyashiro, aka the female or better yet, the female of the species, as she is known. Basically, this Japanese girl is muted, meaning she can't talk, or she does not talk, because sooner or later she does utter a couple of words. She possesses superhuman strength to the point that she can rip someone's skin and limbs off. Which she does to great effect in the TV show and in the comic.
Yes, she does.
Although she appears to be ruthless and cruel to her enemies, the female is actually a good person, and she is the Frenchman's best friend. According to Mother's Milk, the female was exposed to compound V as a baby, and it is implied that at this time some other things happened to her that contributed to her mental problems. The female has an uncontrollable urge to kill, and at times when she does not kill enough in her capacity as a member of the boys, she takes jobs with the local mafia. The Frenchman has tried to help her overcome this compulsion with limited success. When Huey was introduced to the female in the comic, he actually reached out like, hey, how are you doing? He had basically spoken to everybody else. She's the only one in the room that he had not spoken to. So he reaches his hand out past Mother's Milk or French. One of them like, hey, how you doing? And they basically tell him that is not a good idea because she's not speaking.
Yeah.
But you can tell that she's ready. Like if he had touched her,
she would have ripped his
jump
face
on
off.
him and rip his face off. Yeah. So what it is, he was strongly cautioned not to touch her because she's willing to harm even her friends when she is made uncomfortable. And that's all it takes.
Wow.
According to CIA records, the female's tongue has been removed, presumably causing her muteness. It is not clear whether someone else or the female herself is responsible for the removal. However, following Huey's revelation of a potential superhuman genocide by Butcher, it was revealed that she does have the ability to speak when she said, I hate mean people. The female's main power is her immense strength, as she regularly tears even superhumans apart. She also has a talent for finding the weak spots in people. Out of her power, she is incredibly strong and incredibly brutal, even among her team of super strong, brutal powerhouses. And in a world filled with super powerful beings. She has a tendency to rip apart her enemies, even extending as far as to the skin or to rip off body parts such as the face of her foes. The female possesses the level of strength that she can easily crush machine guns with her bare hands, as well as rip the ends off shotguns with her teeth. The female has demonstrated extraordinary levels of speed and agility as well. And that is Kamiko Miyashiro, the female of the species. Oh, yes. Who, honestly, I think she's the most brutal out of all.
She is. Even if you watch if you watch the TV show, like her brutality is far. I mean, Butcher's brutal.
Yeah, but Butcher is kind of like this is the plan. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to get the super. She just comes into the room and anybody she doesn't like gets.
And just to let you know. All of these characters on the TV show are toned down for TV. Right, I will let you know that. Next on our list we have here is Terror. Terror is not in the TV show, but he is a huge character in the comics. I think out of the 72 issues, he's in like 60 something of them. Unfortunately, Terror does not make it to the end. But Terror is you can see, a massive bulldog there. He is Bully Butcher's dog and constant companion. He is because Butcher has no friends. This is Butcher's only friend, his dog. He is commanded. Billy has trained this dog to have sex with anything, and he uses that to his discretion. That's all I'm going to say about that. He is extremely protective of Terror, Butcher is, even going as far as to threatening Homelander with breaking a truce after Homelander moves to attack Terror for urinating on his leg in issue 20. Jack from Jupiter is presumed to be the murderer of Terror at the Flatiron building. Jack the Jupiter, I think Jack from Jupiter we will talk about later. He is one of the 7 though. But yeah, Terror does not make it to the end, but he is a constant on the team of the boys.
And he's a great source of comedic relief as well.
He is. So we can't get into any of that because we can't talk about those things. But yeah, he has a few funny parts. Okay, now we're going to get into the super. Oh no, we got to finish. These two characters here are brief.
Okay, yeah, I'll run through both of them. The first one is Becky Saunders, who we talked about. This is Butcher's ex-wife, who was thought to be, honestly, she was thought to be assaulted by the Homelander, but it was revealed that it was Black Noir that committed the atrocity. After she was assaulted, she became pregnant. She died when her superhuman child, which they did not know was going to be a superhuman child, but when the child decided that it was time to be born, she died as he used his heat vision to basically free himself from her womb before the doctors could perform the cesarean. The procedure.
Yeah.
And so that's how she passed. And there were in the TV show, she is portrayed and not as dying, but as basically having Homelander's child and being whisked away to a secret neighborhood, basically.
I mean, what Butcher is thought to believe in a TV show is what happened in the graphic novel.
Right.
The TV show changes that a little bit. If you watch it in season 2, you'll know why. We have not gotten to season 3 yet, but Becky is not dead.
All right, and the next character over here, this is Robin, Huey's girlfriend at the beginning of the story. She was killed, like we said before, when Aatron throws a suit that he was fighting into her at high velocity. You see a picture, she's a lovely young lady. You see down at the bottom, she's standing there in her red sweater and plaid skirt and boots. And right above that, actually, the panels show the suit being thrown into her. And you see the aftermath of Huey just standing there holding her arm.
That's all that's left.
Now, in the TV show, they kind of changed it up a little bit. Instead of A-Train basically fighting another suit, he was on a mission, and he had gotten juiced up with compound V. He was basically addicted to it, and so he had lost control of his, I guess you can say, his the integrity of his movements. Like he couldn't cut corners as fast as he normally could. And so what ends up happening is Huey and Robin are standing on, Huey is standing on the sidewalk. She's standing in the street.
Yeah.
And as they are professing their love to each other, basically Robin explodes into just a mist.
Literally red mist.
And that's what you see up there.
Blood matter and tissue.
Yes, and Huey, again in the TV show, is left there holding basically her forearms by the hand.
It's gruesome.
Yeah.
It's gruesome. All right. So super teams, and we're gonna start off Vault Industries there from the TV show. Vault International. I'm gonna let you talk about this.
Okay, so Vault International was basically an organization created by the Nazis during World War II for the purpose of developing superhumans. The doctor that was in charge of the procedures basically tried the first procedure on his wife. And this is the story that we get in the TV show. Okay.
Yeah.
And that wife would go on to become, is in the TV show, it's Stormfront. Now, the reason why I bring up the TV show first is because the comics, which is the original storyline, they changed it from that because basically it was like, I want to say like the Red Skull from Captain America.
Yeah.
You had this superhero that nobody knew was a hero because he had tried the serum basically on himself and a couple of other people, and he was able to save himself. And he becomes the not a hero, but Stormfront. He is Stormfront.
Gotcha.
And so in the comics, he is basically a member of one of the Volt International teams. They're like the Elder Squad, basically. You can say we'll show the name of them. I'll point them out when we get to them. Now, but Volt International is basically responsible for the superhuman groups that exist in the world of the boys, basically.
No. Okay.
So none of the superhumans were born natural.
Nope.
The Compound V all started at Voight back in World War II. So basically, come forward, and Volt has started Volt America, which is basically the company, the corporation that runs the Seven, who we're about to get into. And the Seven are basically the most popular superhero team that has been put out in front of the public. And it's almost like how the Avengers were. Like, matter of fact, they are an amalgam of the Avengers.
Yeah.
But they're twisted.
Justice League.
Avengers, they're not for the
true
good
justice.
of the human man.
Yeah.
True justice. It's basically about making sure that Voight International
makes money.
Okay.
All right. So here's the Seven here. We're going to get into each of these characters, plus someone that's not on there.
Yeah, that's the original.
So here we have Homelander. He is the leader of the Seven. He has powers similar to Superman and an image like Captain America. Look at that. In truth, he is a jerk and a sexual predator. And his origin is this origin of him falling out of the skies, but not a spaceship, and onto prairie land, like farmland. And he's raised in this good, wholesome America. And he's this good, wholesome leader. In fact, the truth is, he's not an alien. He's a man that was given extreme amounts of Compound V from the time he was a fetus. His mother was a mentally challenged woman who was killed off as soon as he was born. And Homelander often treats people terribly because of his powers, and he could do whatever he pleases. Out of the Seven, he is the most powerful. He believes he is not. He is believed to be the most powerful. When we get into why he's not the most powerful, he is thought of to be the one who assaulted Butcher's wife, Becky, and is the father of the baby that is with the result of that causing her death. His origins, he is technically the most powerful superhero on the planet. He is the leader of the Seven. He keeps the Seven on task, which means being on task means making Vought more money. He cares only about himself and his celebrity status and how he looks to the world. He is a monster, to say the least. He is a monster. He has X-ray vision. He can fly at incredible speeds. He's completely invulnerable, meaning almost nothing can penetrate his skin. He has a sonic scream that can blow people's heads off. He got his power due to the fact that he was given direct doses of Compound V in his mother's womb. Yeah, that is Homelander. Yeah.
Okay, so next up,
I'm going to Starlight.
Starlight. Starlight, she's one of the main characters in the TV show. Actually, she is one of the newest members of the Seven in the TV show and in the comic at the beginning of the comic.
Yeah.
She basically was taking the place of Lamplighter. Before she joined the Seven, Annie January served on the conservative teenage superhero team called the Young Americans in her early years, where she also dated the leader of the team, Drummer Boy. Now, Anne is very religious and conservative, appealing to the good in people and with a sincere wish to do good. On her first day with the Seven, she's given a tour of their headquarters, and that tour is led by Homelander. Well, during this tour, we get into one of those situations that the Supes are famously known for. and she ends up about to be assaulted by Homelander as a what's the word for it? This I got to do this before you get. It's like a prerequisite to get into.
It's an initiation into getting into the 7, basically.
So upon him beginning to assault her, Aatron and Black Noir basically show up and wonder what's going on, and she thinks that she basically has some help. But when they realize what's going on, they actually line up to join in.
And yeah.
So basically her storyline centers around while she's the conservative thinking that she's the superhero there to be a superhero, well, she realizes that she has fallen not outside of the assaults and everything. She has fallen into a corporate structure. And within this corporate structure, they want to change certain things, change her costume. They want her to show more bosom in her costume. They want her to just deal with the team, accept the teammates' abuse. But what ends up happening is all of this is basically the turn in her storyline, because where she comes in naive, she actually begins to stick up for herself. Her teammate Aatron basically became an ever-increasing annoyance in her life, telling her she was only hired so the other teammates could mock her. And then she got to the point where she started defending herself and started basically fighting the changes that the corporation wanted to make her. Like they wanted her to have a breast augmentation and stuff of that nature, basically making her
they wanted her more dark and more sexual appeal.
Trying to give her more sexual appeal. And when she approaches Queen Maeve about this in the comics, Queen Maeve actually takes she brushes her off basically.
Yeah.
She never gets a chance to say, hey, this is what happened. So Queen Maeve doesn't know that she's been assaulted. She's just like, this is the new kid and you're getting on my nerves. I'm trying to have my
Queen Maeve has her own issues.
She has her own.
So we will delve into her of why, but yeah.
Now, one of the biggest story arcs is that Starlight, not in costume, but in her regular street clothes, actually runs into in a park and meets Huey, and they become good friends. Actually, to the point where I do believe they start dating. And basically, this is like a change. I guess a changing point in her attitude and realizing that the group that she's with, she's a part of it now. But she needs to work from the inside to make it better.
Oh yeah. Can you get into her powers?
Oh yeah. I thought it was. You know what? I thought her powers were kind of evident.
Okay.
She possesses the ability to generate, project, and emanate a blinding light from her hands, and she might possess a degree of superhearing. She has the ability to fly and is generally athletic, as well as being a trained gymnast. Her light energy bursts are capable of blinding even superpowered beings, as demonstrated when Aatron attempted to force himself on her, where she basically blinded him and permanently blinded one of his eyes. Good, that's what he did.
That's what he gets.
So that's her in a nutshell. She's one of the more wholesome characters.
And she has to me, she has the biggest story arc, because by the end of it, she is an atheist. But she's a true hero. She sticks up for herself, and she sticks to her beliefs. Even though she loses hope, she does have the biggest story arc. Okay, Black Noir. That is him on the right, as maybe your left, as in the TV show. That's him in the comic. Looks a little familiar, doesn't he? Throughout the entire comic series, you do not know who Black Noir is. You never see his face. You see other parts of him at times, but never his face. We do know that he's a white male because you've seen, like I said, other parts of him, but he is never revealed until the end of the comic. His powers and origins the entire time are a mystery. You know, he has some sort of super strength because of the missions that he goes on. But spoiler alert, and I'm going to say that now, so if you don't want to know who he is, turn this off now.
It's already on the screen.
Never mind. Spoiler alert, Vought created a clone of Homelander. So Homelander was born of natural, like he was in his mother's womb, he was a baby. Vought wanted a security. So, you know, there's Superman, and Lex Luthor is always saying, hey, if something ever happened and he wilded out on us, we need a backup plan. Kryptonite. And Batman comes up with that. And that is one of the storylines of one of the greatest graphic novels in DC history. Vought came up with Black Noir. He is the security for them. If I don't know how Homelander could have got any worse, but he was their security. So Black Noir was a clone of Homelander and created to be stronger than Homelander to kill Homelander if ever be the case. Unfortunately, because he never revealed himself throughout the comic, even Homelander did not know he had a clone. This drove Black Noir insane. Seeing a clone of himself, seeing himself through Homelander drove him insane. Like, it's like when in Back to the Future where your future self and yourself can't meet because it will cause great chaos. That's what it does throughout the entire series of The Boys. So all of those unfortunate events and horrible things, and not that Homelander did not do horrible things, but there are some things that he was blamed for, such as Becky Saunders' assault and therefore child, which everyone thought was Homelander, was actually Black Noir dressed up as Homelander. Wow. He would dress up as Homelander and create and commit horrendous crimes against society, against people in the name of Homelander.
Yeah, I see here where it says cannibalize children,
yes,
women, and
yes,
other things.
Yes, yes. And he would send photos to the boys to incriminate Homelander. And this gave Vought America a reason to finally order Homelander's death. That's what it was. Not knowing that Black Noir had been setting it up the entire time. Homelander's a monster. This is a sadistic monster. But again, seeing a clone of yourself, being that clone, it drove him mad. After this revelation, he was assaulted by an enraged Homelander in the Oval Office. He easily kills Homelander, but sustains severe body damage. He walks outside and is showered with gunfire, and he's ultimately put down, thanks to Butcher cracking his skull wide open. So Butcher gets his revenge on the person who murdered his wife. Because he's a clone, he's stronger than Homelander, but he has the same powers as Homelander and abilities. He can speed, flight, near invulnerability, heat vision, and enhanced vocal cords. And that is Black Noir. I tell you.
Got next up.
Aatron.
Oh, Train.
The Train.
All right. Now, in the comic, on the TV show, outside of him running into Robin and being on his little compound V-kick, he's actually one of the cooler characters of the seven, but now we're going to find out why. He's actually next to Starlight, he's the youngest. He basically is a super speedster who left Teenage Kicks to join the seven after Homelander caused the death of Mr. Marathon. The way that he did that, we'll speak about that later.
Yeah, because that's a big part of the storyline.
So Aatron, of course, like we said before, Aatron was complicit in causing the death of Huey's girlfriend while in motion, basically. And this is what prompted Huey to go to work for the CIA team, the boys. Now, after the death of Lamplighter, the seven recruited Starlight to the team, and Aatron picked her to immediately terrorize. He often has to be kept in check by Homelander, who threatens him all the time for his actions and not wanting to make the team look bad to the press. Aatron would always mess with Starlight when he could. He is killed by Huey after he has played a recording of what Aatron did to his now girlfriend, Starlight. Now, his powers are basically like the Flash's. He has super speed, but he has very little control over his movement at high speeds, and sometimes may kill people and cause damage.
Now, he also, in the TV series, they give him a addiction to
The
compound V, but in the graphic novel, he does not have an addiction to
No.
compound V.
What his addiction to in the graphic novel is to be an idiot.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the things, like I said, I started reading volume 1. And right after Aatron, Homelander, and Black Noir assault Starlight, probably, I want to say, I think it happened that same day, if I'm correct, but there was a main meeting called, like a major meeting for the seven and the people of Vault. So while they're in the meeting, they're introducing Starlight to the people of Vault who don't know her, and Aatron is sitting over in the corner making noises with his mouth.
Oh yeah,
messing with her. And what ends up happening is after the meeting, she doesn't say anything to him, but Homelander gets in his trap.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And tells him, like, that's okay. That's all well and good. You're doing that around us.
Yeah.
But that was a major meeting, and you're not going to make us look bad. And it almost looked like, well, in the comic panel, Aatron throws his hand up, but it's one of those gestures where you're trying to get away from somebody. And Homelander plays the daddy mode. Boy, did you throw your hand up at me? And so now Aatron has to get out of that one, and he realizes he's he's the boy amongst grown men in this.
Yeah. All right. Next on our list is Queen Maeve. Queen Maeve there is, by the time you're introduced to her in The Boys, she is an alcoholic. She stays with her gin, as you can see there with her cup. She's not really interested in being a superhero anymore, but she is the most powerful female on the team. She's compared to Wonder Woman in DC. That's kind of her story. They call her the Empress of Netherworld, but in reality, she's like the rest of the seven. She was grown from conception in American laboratories. Dosed with compound V. She is capable of flight, not on the TV show, but in the comic, she is. She has superhuman strength and durability. She and Homelander are the real heavyweights of the seven. So they're the two most powerful of the seven. And her powers are near the top of possibly within the storyline of The Boys. She was a stellar and humble superhero. Excited about her work, but the incidents that happened on 9/11 sent her into and haunt her to this day. She drinks heavily now due to it, and at present, she doesn't care about much of anything except her gin habit. She can be very inhospitable. She does show signs of sympathy for Starlight, with whom she has exchanged information when needed and even saved her on occasion from assault or worse at the hand of fellow seven member Black Noir. Maeve has had many relationships with different heroes. She's been with the Legend. She confided in him, and the Legend introduced her to the Boys, and she became a mole for the Boys and recovering information for them and providing the inner workings of the seven, like planting bugs and giving recordings. She has been pregnant twice, one by an unknown superhero And another, she and one of the early seven, she had a child with him who was Blarney Doc. That was her son, the one that got killed by Huey. That was her son. He was a member of the Teenage Kicks. Yeah. But yeah, we'll get to 9/11. All right. Next on our list is the Deep. I can talk about him.
No. Look, well, so the problem with the Deep is he's basic. Honestly, between the graphic novel and the TV show, he is the one that they changed up the most. All right, and
yes,
when you read the graphic novel, you'll understand why. It's basically, because the seven are considered the greatest superheroes of the world, some are thought to be greater than others, and that causes a divided line between the big three and then everybody else.
Yeah.
So within the lesser members is the Deep, so he's not as lucrative nor as powerful as Black Noir, Maeve, or the Homelander. They are basically less concerned to both American or the boys. Furthermore, the Deep has no particular connection to any of the series protagonists, so he hasn't had as much focus as the seven's other lesser members. His backstory and personality haven't been expanded to any great extent, though it has been established that he was created in a similar manner to the homeless, and he comes across as a serious-minded and reserved. His speech is formal and sometimes given to grandiose flourishes. He has stated that he can't remove his helmet due to an Atlantean curse, so he may also be delusional. The Deep hasn't displayed as many of the decadent or murderous tendencies of his colleagues, though this doesn't mean he's particularly noble. He has shown no desire to help others in quarrels about how much money he makes. His powers are that he can fly, and he has demonstrated superhuman strength and durability. While he has been seen underwater and bears an aquatic theme, it has been established in the comics if he has any nautical-based powers. Now, in the TV show, they did show that he basically is an Aquaman ripoff. He can control the fish, basically talk to the fish and the sea life or whatnot.
His character is more of
his character is tragic comedy.
Yeah.
Because
in the TV show.
In the TV show, it's not Homelander
who
that assaults Starlight, it's the Deep. Yeah. And then instead of it becoming her not being able to navigate the seven, it actually becomes a Me Too movement.
Yeah. They used his entire storyline as a Me Too moment
because he ends up having to leave the team and go to
he's no longer in the seven.
He's in a church. He's at a church that basically picks up broken and lonely superheroes.
They sent him to Ohio.
Yeah.
They send the fan who is in the ocean to Ohio.
Landlocked. They send him to a landlocked place where he cannot use his powers, period.
Yes.
He does, like I said, provide the comedy relief because I think in season 2, at his moment of joy that he's finally about to catch the boys as they're on a mission and they're on a boat. The boat gets circled by sharks and he rides up all grandiose on a whale, beaches the whale in front of them. Butcher doesn't know anything to do, but like that whale is on our landing pad. I don't have it, y'all get down. And he throttles up the boat and they run straight into the side of the whale. That was the most hilarious, but it was hilarious.
All right. Lamplighter here is a member of the seven, but he is not in the comics a lot, but he's one of the members of the seven. That awful we keep mentioning 9/11 in the graphic novel, and they changed it in the TV show to just be a hijacking. The plane gets hijacked. In the graphic novel, these 7 idiots are sent to assist on 9/11 with one of the hijacked planes. they fail miserably. Like, failure is not even it, the incompetence of these 7 made the events of 9/11 worse. This guy here, Lamplighter, was one of the team members of the 7. He suffered some ribs damage and lung damage from being hit by the plane's wings. He is medicated and recovers, but from his recovery, it drives him mad. He is the person who kills, we mentioned Greg Mallory earlier, who was a founding member of the Boys, who worked for the CIA. Mallory's grandchildren were murdered by Lamplighter because of the side effects of the medication given to him. And later on, when faced with giving someone over to the Boys, they sacrificed Lamplighter. So the 7 are like, hey, here's the Lamplighter. And they give him to the Boys, and the Boys kill him. But this does not kill him. He does not technically die. He becomes a zombie. And towards the end of the series, members of the 7, Aatron and Starlight, are sent on a mission. Basically, something happens and these 2 have to work together. So they're sent to clean the basements of vaults of their headquarters, the 7's headquarters. Yeah. In that basement is where they keep Lamplighter, zombie Lamplighter, who is a zombie, and it's an awful mess. He is hidden beneath the 7's headquarters, and he plays with his own feces by this point. He is who Starlight replaced, this guy here. And Aatron, and yeah, it's just, yeah, he yeah.
So here we go, Mr. Marathon, the original speedster of the 7, who was replaced by Aatron prior to the beginning of the Boys series. Now, during the 9/11 crisis, when they were on the plane, Jack from Jupiter tried to flee. You know, he's not, he's a weirdo. But he tries to flee. He doesn't want to fight the hijackers or anything. But Marathon convinced Homelander to basically let him stay, because Homelander was going to basically throw him out the plane or something. Once they have to get away from the plane, because Mr. Marathon can't fly, Homelander gives him a ride on his back, basically. And for some reason or another, they have to abandon the mission. Homelander wants to abandon the mission. And you can see this. This is the same.
They have to abandon.
Well, they're supposed to be abandoning the mission. This is the same thing that happened in the TV show, minus a couple of characters and exactly how it happened. This is like one of the first scenes of the TV show. But in the comic, Mr. Marathon talks Homelander into remaining to try to save the plane. But what ends up happening is Homelander basically loses control and flies through the plane, breaking the tail off the plane. And in his excitement over what just happened, he hollers back at Mr. Marathon, "Hey, did you see what just happened?" And the next panel shows that Mr. Marathon is not answering anymore, because basically the trip through Mr. Marathon is not, what's the word for it? He's not invulnerable like Homelander. So when Homelander flew through that plane and ripped that plane to shreds, I guess the jagged metal or whatever basically ripped Mr. Marathon's head off. And so he becomes one of the first casualties.
And the way it's written, when you are introduced to this 9/11 botch in the series, is not like one of the first things that happens. It's a flashback in a later series, because everyone is wondering, okay, well, how did so-and-so end up on the team? And what happened to this person, this and that? This is why. There's
Yeah, when you read the book, you'll see that it flashbacks a lot. So this right here is like one of the very first flashbacks that
this is what causes Queen Maeve to go into her depression. Like, and what it was that because there's idiots, Homelander thought Maeve had a plan. Right. Maeve thought Homelander had a plan to deal with this. No one communicated with the military, and they just went in. All 7 of them went in blind, right, and screwed it up. They made it worse.
And see, now in the TV show, I guess because of sensitivity and stuff,
they
didn't make it a 9/11. They just made it the hijacking of a plane. And what really turns the tide to show you the I guess you can say the psyche of the 7 is when they realize they're not going to be able to save the plane.
Yep.
But
or the hostages.
Well, this is the thing. In the TV show, remember, at one point, it just became about saving the plane. Now, at this point, the engines are out. We need to save the plane. Homelander, being a butt, is like, no, I'm not doing this. We need to go. And so Queen Maeve is like, hey, we can do this. Come on, we both can fly. We can save the plane. And Homelander basically ushers her out the door, and they let the plane go down. It's not my problem.
I remember that. In the comic, it was more like.
But that's what drives her to in the TV show. That's what drives her to not care anymore. Yeah,
her character in the TV show is a little bit different because she doesn't have a drinking. She has a drinking problem, but her apathy. She has no children. Her and Homelander are thought to have been a couple. But what you understand is that she and Homelander are not a couple. That's only for PR purposes. She's actually living a double life. She was in a relationship with someone else. When she has to play down the relationship because she doesn't want anyone to know she's gay or she's bisexual, at least, and because that goes against Vaught's image also. And there are other characters who are gay in the stories. Well, okay, but real quick, Jack from Jupiter, he's a mixture between Captain Marvel and Martian the Manhunter. He's a part of the 7, but we only see him in the 9/11, like the flashbacks. He's no longer a part of the 7. He is weird, to say the least. He's like his peers. He likes the celebrity. He's the superpowers. He's the conventional superhero, but he's shallow and obnoxious. He's has a decadent life of hedonism, and he is a longtime member of the super team, but he doesn't have the star appeal of Homelander. He doesn't have the star appeal of Aatron.
He don't even care.
Yeah, he's just there. Right. He's not. You can't say he's a decent individual either, because he's aware of the violent crimes and the fatal accidents that they cause, but he shows no concern about him. He kind of reminds me of a mixture. It shouldn't even just be Martian Manhunter and Captain Marvel, but also like kind of like the Watchers and the Watchers of Marvel, and like he's there, but he's not going to intervene to save anybody. Like, even though he knows all of this is bad, his nonchalance.
And he speaks up on it being bad. If you read he speaks up on it being
but
bad.
He's like whatever.
Y'all gonna do what y'all want to do.
All right, so to get into some of these other teams that are around, but we're not going to really cover. We've talked about the Young Americans. This is where Starlight is. She's there. Super conservative.
Yeah, this is the team that in the comics they get a pass.
Yeah,
it's almost like they get a pass because Butcher is after all suits for the most part. Like they shouldn't even exist.
They're the most
and because they are using their powers to do what everybody thinks they should be doing on the taking the moral and high ground with everything, and showing up when they're supposed to show up, not creating havoc. Yeah. They basically fly under the radar.
Yeah.
And Butcher he don't attack them because he just thinks they're poor.
Yeah,
they're not
they are
smart.
what we would call, I think they're linked to the Young Republicans.
Yeah, and
Lots of church groups, Catholic.
A lot of Catholic groups and
Yeah.
other church groups outside of it.
In the TV show, you see this, they do like super church camps and revivals and
Right.
stuff. This is, like I said, the group Starlight come from. This is where she, not only her conservatism, but her outlook on life is so positive because of this group. Drummer boy there was her boyfriend. He cheats on her with Holy Mary there.
Right.
She finds them indisposed when she goes to visit him, when she's distraught after being attacked by her new team members of the 7. She thinks, I'm gonna go back and talk to my boyfriend. He's gonna help me figure this out. She catches him with Holy Mary there and realizes that everything she thought was a lie.
Right. So even though they're the good team, they
still have their flaws, but they really are boring.
Yeah.
Oh, good old teenage 6.
Lord have mercy. This
Yes.
next group, teenage kicks. Now, if you see off to the side, I had, before I get into this, I have 2 spotlights, and what this is that they don't, in the TV show, they don't really mention teenage kicks like that. Mm-hmm. But they do mention some of the members, and the members do become targets basically in the TV show. Instead of going, and you'll know why after I finish. When the boys went after teenage kicks in the comic, the members included Big Game, Pop Claw, Blarney Cop, Gunpowder, Dog Knot, Shout Out, and Whack Jug. Mm-hmm. These superheroes were distinguished by their edgy alternative attitudes and appearances, and in stark contrast to the more conservative teenage superhero team, the Young Americans. Despite their reputation as a superhero team that fights evil to the public eyes, however, the members of the Teenage Kicks were far from ethical or moral, and they reveled in all-out orgies with prostitutes, scamming hospitals out of money and drugs, and even sleeping with each other. And this hypocrisy made them a perfect target in the eyes of Butcher for his team. And they were the boys' first mission after a long absence. Now, the I See Dead People boy, Haley, what's his name? Haley Oswald or something like that. Yeah. He played Mesmer. Now, Mesmer was one of the members of Teenage Kicks that was, he's a good guy. Even in the TV show, he's a good guy, but what they do, they still need information from him. So, Butcher gets it out of him the way that he does. Pop Claw, in the TV series, she's the girlfriend of Aatron. But not in the graphic novel. Not in the graphic novel. And so she is killed. She is killed by the boys in the TV show because she is the sacrificial lamb that the Teenage Kicks, Aatron gave her up basically because he thought that she was gonna say something about his addiction or whatnot. Yeah. Now in graphic novel, in the graphic, this happens. It plays out different. What ends up happening is after the boys have basically infiltrated and videotaped and recorded the antics of Teenage Kicks after one of their victories, and this is in the brothel, basically. The boys start sending information back to Teenage Kicks, like, hey, we got pictures of you doing this, you doing this, you doing that. How are people gonna feel about it? So they figure, hey, we're gonna have to have a sacrificial lamb to give to the public so that the boys don't release this information. Now, what they do is at first they throw Pop Claw out there, and she's like, no, I'm not gonna, I hadn't done it, I wasn't even there, so you're not gonna do me like that. What they do, they get Shout Out. Yeah. Shout Out is the only black guy on the team, but he has with the leader, big game,
Mhm.
he has basically participated in some homosexual activities.
Mhm.
And he is actually the one that's flying under the radar.
Mhm.
So they feel like, and they even said
He's chosen for being black and homosexual.
He's a black man and he's a homosexual. They're not going to say anything to you after you let it out.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So Teenage Kicks, basically in the comics, they got what was coming to them because every last one of them, they they got outed anyway.
Yeah.
And now the only thing that went wrong was this fight that Huey found out his super strength.
Yeah.
And when Blarney Cop basically grabbed him by his throat, he wasn't trying to kill him, he was just trying to subdue him. Yeah. But it scared Huey because Huey knew that he didn't have superpowers yet. He knew he had been infected by the compound V, but it had not taken hold. And so in his fear, he lashed out and tried to push Blarney Cop off of him and ended up sending his fist through his midsection all the way to his back. So there's a actual panel in the comic where he's looking distraught and he can't even look up, and they got his arm outstretched, and the team is like, well, you just said it, you don't look, and they're pulling Blarney Cop's body off of him. Now, with that being said, when Blarney Cop is laying on the ground.
Nope, we're not gonna go there.
No. We can do this. Okay. We can do it tastefully.
Yeah.
So, and this is just what we mean by there are certain things of this comic that are hilarious, but at the same time, horrible and awful. So Blarney Cop has been talking all of this trash during the fight. As his dead body is laying there, the Frenchman turns around and sees movement. And lo and behold, a hamster or a gerbil or something crawls out out of Blarney Cop's belt line. So just to say that he was harboring a visitor in his pants while this fight was going on. And that was his thing because later on,
Huey adopts this poor hamster and basically raises it after that.
They tell him don't touch it.
I would not.
But he picks it up with a rag and walks off.
He felt bad for killing his
son. So that's Teenage Kicks. Now, real quick, I'm just going to say this real quick. This team right here, Payback, is if you watch the TV series, the main on the second season, the new character Stormfront that they brought out as a woman. In the graphic novel, she is a man, and that's him right in the middle in the red. And he is the throwback from the Nazi Party.
Gotcha.
Okay, so they're like the old school team. You have Tech Knight, who's down there in the blue. Well, and he they have a back and forth that's real big in the comics.
Yeah.
G-Wiz, well, you go back to the
G-Man.
The G-Man and G-Wiz and Pre-Wiz are all teams, are secondary teams by Vault. And what it is that the G-Man is actually the secondary team. G-Wiz and Pre-Wiz are actually feeder teams for the G-Man. And what's different is that the G-Man basically get taken in the comics, they get taken out at one time by the boys as one of their targets. Basically, the Teenage Kicks was the warning shot for the 7. The G-Man is the basic practice. This is what's going to happen. You know what I'm saying?
It's good practice for the boys.
On the same property where the G-Men have their mansion, sort of like the X-Men, there's actually a secondary property, and it's more like a dorm. And this is where the team G-Wiz hangs out. G-Wiz, they have problems because they're all teen boys. They live more like a frat house.
Yeah.
And so
preteen boys.
Yeah, but what it is, they have been raised to the point that they don't know right from wrong. They don't know the stuff that they're doing is wrong. Like they basically sexually assault each other. They do stuff like throw up and have drinking parties and just run wild, run amok. there's another group who's not on here, and I'm trying to remember their name. It wasn't G Wiz. It was G Wiz and not G Sharp. What was it? There was a group that was supposed to only be of African American.
Oh, there is.
G Style.
Yeah.
They were called G Style. And they were all African Americans, and they were always in contention with G Wiz because they were more like street cats, and but they were the same age as G Wiz, and G Wiz was stupid to them. But they ended up when the fight came, they all ended up being lumped together.
Yep, because the boys don't care.
Right. Now, pre-Wiz were the kiddies. But remember, they all come from both. So what ends up happening, pre-Wiz meets a fate at the end by I can't remember which one did. Was it Butcher who did it? No, one. I think Butcher got them, trapped them in a shipping container and pushed them out of an airplane over the ocean. So that's how they got rid of pre-Wiz, just to keep them out of the fight.
Yeah.
That was the humane.
That was the most humane death in that entire book.
Pretty much. All right. These last teams, Team Paralytic, Team Titanic, Old Father, and Mavericks. They are all secondary teams who meet their fates at the hand of the boys. But these two, the Mavericks and Old Father, are actually weird. Well, Mavericks is not a weird team. They're on par with that other that was their first team. We said no, not team with the Nazi.
Oh, Power.
Yeah, they are an older team, but their leader, Tech Knight, he has an issue. Yeah, he has some issues, and it kind of fades over into the rest of the team. And so this team doesn't last long either. But they have a major member who I'm not going to bring up because he's going to end up being in season 3.
Yeah,
he's going to be in season 3. Old Father is the weird one where he basically is like Pied Piper. He's like the R. Kelly of superheroes.
Oh my God.
Yes. He as you can see here, he likes to hold court. Yeah. And it's all religious themed, but he's taking advantage of everybody around him.
Oh, dear.
And that's so these 4 teams get taken out by the boys.
As they should.
All right.
As they should. And that is the boys. These are the works. This one, y'all, was hard. If you do want to read it, like I said, it's on Comics Plus or wherever you get your comics. We do have volume 1 and volume 2 of the graphic novels here at Forest Park. You can check out. If you want to check out some of their character bios where we got our information, you're welcome to check these out here. Also, just another plug for Comics Plus. That is, you can borrow and read thousands of digital comics, graphic novels, and manga from Clayton County Library System. This is something that you get with your library card. It must be a Clayton County Library card to partake in Comics Plus and enjoy thousands of comics to read at your smart device. So your tablet, your computer, your smartphone, you can download them for offline use. You can sign up there at that web address, or you can go to claytonpl.org and go to our electronic resources to find another link for it. But yes, to partake in it. And up next, 2 weeks from today, we will be covering Shang-Chi because the movie comes out September 4th. So in preparation for that, we will be giving you some backstory of this Marvel character and what we can look forward to in the movie. And we do know that Disney changes a lot of things. We don't know, he has not been mentioned yet, I think, in any of the properties that have come to the big screen.
No.
Now, he has been mentioned in the smaller properties, the TV show, right? Not the ones on Netflix?
I think because of the way that they're going to bring it in, remember, he's
But he wasn't mentioned on Iron Fist? Really?
Not at all. But remember, because the Iron Fist comes from a whole different, it's like neighborhoods. You know.
Yeah. They come from different neighborhoods.
Shang-Chi's from the city.
Yeah, but I thought that.
Remember, the place where Iron Fist is from only shows up every 10 to 15 years.
That's right.
So
in our research for him for the Asian Americans, though, he was a part of.
No, he's a part.
Okay.
He does
Okay.
become a part.
Okay, because I was like,
Power Man, Iron.
Yeah.
Okay. Halloween.
Okay.
He does.
Okay, because I was like, I could have sworn he was part of
that. Yeah, no,
team.
he does become that. But in the beginning, like when everything was going down, he is not a. It's almost like how can I say this? The Wu-Tang Clan.
Yeah.
You got members that come from everywhere, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden they work together. They might have the same skills.
Yeah.
This guy right here, the son of a mobster, whereas Danny Rand, he's not even Asian.
Yeah, he is not.
People are trying to figure out how he even, in the comics, they were trying to even figure out how did you get the Iron Fist? You're not even.
You shouldn't even
but what makes him more special is that he earned it. Mm-hmm. You feel me? Per the comic. Mm-hmm. But I think it's all, and we're not going to get into that.
No, we're not. We'll get into that next week. I mean, in 2 weeks.
We're not even going to get into it.
Oh, come on. But we'll see you guys on August 31st, 4:00, same that time and same that place. So we'll see you then. All right.